In today's show, we talk about your health, your hormones, and your happiness. Because my guest today is no other than Dr. Anna Cabeca, OBGYN, board certified, of course, anti-aging specialist, and my to-go-to doctor for all questions related to women's health over the age of 40 and our fluctuating hormones, which you may have noticed already yourself. So, in order to live the life that I call live your wild, we need to have the energy, the health, the stamina to really go for what we want. As you know, of course, what you eat, the diet that you follow, has an immediate influence on your health and your well being. And what you may have eaten in the past that led to great results may no longer work anymore because our hormonal status has changed. Cue in Dr. Anna, a woman who experienced all these waves herself, and her new book that will give you the answer to your question of what is it that you should eat right now in order to be healthy, happy, and hormonally balanced.
Right? Menupause,
Yes,
menupause. So fun.
yes.
And it's five different menu plans that each pause something. So it's a beautiful color cookbook, recipe book, but it's also very strategic with the five different menu plans. Because working with, all the women that I've worked with online, especially since my first book, The Hormone Fix, came out, and then my second book, Keto Green 16, like they evolve. And sometimes I have to tell a client, okay, we need to pause this. Let's change this up. We've got to, add back. I mean, sometimes it's adding back healthy carbs. Sometimes it's reducing even further some of the carbs. And it's been a really fun evolution as I see, not just for myself, but for others, the little changes that we make that can make a big difference to break through the plateau or break through what is holding us back. And at least when we're nourishing our body well, we can enter, which I like you say, this transition time period, we enter into the second spring of our life. So we want to breeze through menopause, which is mandatory and natural, right? Into the second spring of our lives. So I always say menopause is mandatory and natural, but suffering is optional.
Could we just lay out so that everybody is on the same page here? Just the verbiage that we're using, because women, I see this, they're using menopause, perimenopause,
Mhm.
postmenopause, in all
Mhm.
different aspects, but so that we are on the same page here. Would you please define perimenopause and then menopause for us?
Menopause is technically 12 months from our last period, but I've worked with women where we've gone 12 months, then started having periods again. So, especially in our 40s with earlier menopause, not so much in our 50s, but definitely sometimes we get that other period after months of not having one. So, what are we in, right? And so we technically say this time period before menopause is perimenopause, and that's typically referred to as a symptomatic time period with hot flashes, weight gain, hair loss, memory loss, and these neurologic and hormonal symptoms that can be with the irregular bleeding, breakthrough bleeding, and more that can happen.
So we have perimenopause,
Perimenopause, the time leading up to menopause, and
menopause.
then you have pre-menopause, perimenopause. Again, that terminology is terrible. And then postmenopause is the day after you're 12 months without a period. So menopause is marked as that day. Like I went through menopause at 50, I'm 55 now. So 55, I went through menopause, like finally, because started at 39 with
Wow, yeah.
infertility, early menopause based on lab work and symptomatology. And then
Mhm.
and then at 48 through the full hormone hell. I mean, I remember hot flashes, night sweats, difficulty sleeping, insomnia, 3 hours a night of sleep, memory loss, brain fog, and the weight gain without doing anything different. And then that brought me into this whole keto green approach that I'm so passionate about sharing, teaching, writing about. Yes, and Keto
I
Green
got
16, my second book. Yeah, it's just an evolution of the process that gives us the mental health and transitions us. I mean, I'm telling you, back then, there's no way I could write a letter, let alone best-selling books. I mean, it's really been a blessing to be able to achieve this hormonal balance, but it's beyond hormones, right? I would say it takes more than hormones to fix our hormones. And I kept focusing on, well, what are the smallest changes I can make that'll give me the best and biggest results, right?
So the common symptoms that you mentioned already are hot flashes, weight gain, insomnia, brain fog, anxiety, depression, and so on. What's the difference? Some women go through that and experience all of them. Other women don't. What do you think is the difference?
Well, there's a couple reasons. Like when a woman says, "Oh, my period just stopped and I didn't have another one. It just was regular and then stopped." I typically it's a red flag to me that there's estrogen dominance and that person may be at a higher risk for endometrial cancer. And being an obstetrician and gynecologist and doing my own pelvic ultrasounds in my practice, I would scan women with those scenarios and typically their lining was thickened and I'd have
Mm-hmm.
to give them progesterone to, create a withdrawal bleed or to flush to oppose that estrogen dominance. So there's that. The other thing is, definitely good adrenals, good resilience, right? When we are balanced, we have good resilience, good adrenal glands. We manage our cortisol well. We are well supported in life and our relationships. We have a positive mental attitude. I mean, that transition, that helps. Like, if not for these factors, I say that boost our most important hormone in our body, our regal or crowning hormone, oxytocin. This
Mm.
oxytocin, the hormone of love, bonding, and connection, a very special hormone. And the more we have that in our life, the easier the more natural a transition is. There's certainly exceptions to this. Some people just all of a sudden, go through their post menopause and didn't know what hit them, but that is a rare exception. That is the rare exception. Most people have these experiences for 10, 15. I had a woman who had hot flashes for 20 years before she started
Wow.
working. We were able to get rid of them in a couple of weeks with this plan, but it was that just 20 years. And just so it's very
And
fascinating. The body is amazing.
what's the number one relief for perimenopausal, menopausal, whatever you want to say, symptoms? What's the number one?
There's so much in like inflammatory foods that aggravate our symptoms. So that's why with the hormone fix, keto green 16, and now Menupause, it's all, this one is all about the food we eat. Let's get to the food plan. Let's address it in this way, in this lifestyle. So the food we eat, when we're eating it, that intermittent fasting piece and creating that insulin sensitivity through intermittent fasting, low carbohydrate, and no more snacking. Those are things that really within 2 weeks, we see a huge difference in people, how they feel.
That's where I was getting at, that we women, we can make the most significant shift and the quickest one by simply changing the way what we eat, when we eat it, how we prepare it and everything. And I think this is something that needs to be talked more and more. And is it also because you see it in your practice all the time that women deal with these symptoms and food is the easiest remedy that you can give them?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, we're in just working with people in my online community, in the girlfriend doctor community, we're already doing keto green, right? We're eating keto green, and then sometimes we get stuck in something. So let's change things up. And like, for example, in keto green, in Menupause, there's 5 different plans because we're pausing something. So in working with, I remember working with a client, Mary, and she was just feeling like, okay, she had less energy, well, really was doing keto green really well. She'd been on the plan for a couple years and was really strict. She felt that carbs increased her sweet tooth and took her down a downward spiral. So I said, okay, but I believe you need some healthy carbs back in. So let's include some high fiber, good carbs that are going to support you and support you at this stage, because she's at her ideal body weight. She's in her 60s and she was, feeling like, I'm just feeling like I'm backtracking a little. So we added some healthy carbs back, and that's the carb, I call it carb modified plan. We're boosting some healthy carbohydrate, like sweet potato, for instance, in the evening with her dinner meal. And that helped her get a better night's sleep. So that was one thing. And another client I had with Hashimoto's and significant autoimmune issues. And so I removed all the nightshades. So that's my keto green extreme plan in Menupause. I removed that and she felt amazing. Her inflammatory symptoms like aches and pains and joint pain went away, and she just started feeling more energetic, more vibrant. We also see that, especially with autoimmune diseases, changes in the hair, increased graying, coarseness to the hair, and also hair falling out. And so she noted those changes too, which is pretty cool. So reducing what's inflaming you. And then,
Mm-hmm.
adding, sometimes we need a break in all the animal products and animal fats. And so do a complete plant-based keto green plan. And so I have that as one of the options. And then a carnivore-ish plan, nose to tail. I mean, I'm first generation American. I remember my mom making, chicken hearts and chicken livers and, and livers and liver and onions. And that was part of eating for empowerment, eating for strength. And we did nose to tail. Now we take pills, right? For thyroid, we take pills for adrenal glands. And we really had a nose to tail kind of philosophy. And there's certain things sometimes just eliminating some of inflammatory foods that could be affecting you. Sometimes we just have to play. Food sensitivity tests are good, and I highly value them. But sometimes we just need to see with our N of 1, what is working for me.
When women read your book and you have the 5 different plans and you recommend doing each plan for 6 days,
I do.
I mean that's how the menu is laid out. How what do you advise? Should I just go in and just try them out and see where I have the biggest change in my symptoms, or how should I approach those 5 plans as a reader, as the woman who's like, okay, let's do this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I typically, the way they're laid out, it goes keto green extreme to plant-based, because another big issue is constipation. So switch into that plant-based plan. The way I've laid it out can really help with regularity. And then it goes to the more carnivore plan, and then a cleanse plan, because you're in high ketosis after carnivore for 6 days. But I recommend taking the 7th day off. 7th day is feasting, fasting, whatever it needs to be for you to set you up for success for the next 6 days. You can do them back to back, or you can do one a month, and just see how you do. And then the 5th plan is that carb up plan, because again, after some restriction, having some healthy carbs back in your diet can benefit you. So it's that play. And then, but I have a Menupause quiz. So we have the link, Bettina, for that Menupause quiz. And I recommend taking that quiz. Now, I've been keto green for a long time, so I took the quiz myself. I laid it out, but I took the quiz myself, and I go right to the cleanse pan. It's like, okay, for what I want to do, I'm like, okay, I do the 6-day cleanse. And I did that with my entire Girlfriend Doctor community. We'll be doing it online as well with all our book buyers coming up. So I think
Great.
that's part of taking the quiz and see, well, maybe you see which one it suggests you start at. But I definitely feel there is value in each of the plans.
But did I also understand you that you said you could do like one plan for 1 week within a month, like three
Yeah,
3 weeks?
absolutely.
And oh, interesting. I thought you have to do it at least longer to see a change that's really lasting.
No, you can in 6 days, because the gut intestinal lining regenerates in 72 hours. So in 2 72-hour cycles, that gives you an idea. And if you feel like, oh my God, I feel great with this plan, stay on it, right? Stay on it, repeat it, follow that. I mean, I lay out how you can create your own, your own menus within each of the plans too. You'll see that, because I'm big on leftover simplicity, making things easy for us. So as a single mom with kids, business, and all of
Yeah.
that. So making it as simple as possible is very beneficial. And that's what it's laid out. So see how it is for you. But I like to see, okay, you feel good with this plan sometimes, because we've taken out a lot of the inflammatory foods and all the plans. But which one do you feel best on? Maybe what's your next right step? And the Menupause quiz will help you with that too. But I still say, see, it's 6 days. Try each plan.
I'm going to do that, and I will do a follow-up.
Yes, great. Okay.
Yeah. To our interview, absolutely, because I feel like even though I do not have the symptoms, other than that I'm not sleeping so well lately, but I think it's also connected with everything that's going on in the world. But I definitely want to do that, because I also want to lose weight. And that is a topic that you're raising within the book. I wanted to also say, any kind of links we're putting, of course, into the show notes below. You'll find them there. And with the way that you laid out the book, you very well describe all the benefits and why and what's happening in our bodies. And you raised just the truth that I think in our age we want to avoid it, because we feel it's like body shaming. But we really need to talk about weight and how the more weight we gain in menopause. I mean, this is like in menopause, we are gaining weight to begin with. Yeah. But the more we allow ourselves to gain and not, change things up, the more our symptoms can worsen. Let's please talk about weight gain or weight loss, why it is so important to take care of our weight now in this transitional period and then beyond, of course.
Yes, definitely. And I've just did a whole masterclass on pre-diabetes and diabetes in menopause
Mm,
and post-menopause, perimenopause, all this whole time period, right?
yeah.
So it is that we increase our risk for diabetes and heart disease increases exponentially once we transition into menopause. So one of the reasons is inflammation and hormone imbalance. One of the key hormone inflammers is insulin. So the reason my plans work so well and people do so well is because we're creating insulin sensitivity. And the more insulin sensitive we are, the less risk of diabetes, heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, dementia. All of those are significantly reduced. And that's that's a part of the not just the food, but also the plan around when we eat and feeling
Mhm.
so nourished you're not hungry. So it's a win-win situation. But insulin resistance as we get older, it's part of the insulin and cortisol increase, all our reproductive hormones, progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, DHEA, all decrease. So in order to enhance our own body's natural hormones, we really want to be insulin sensitive, manage cortisol, and optimize oxytocin. And with that, we have stronger adrenals, more resilience, and less
Mhm.
risk of all things. So all of the metabolic reasons from cancer to heart disease to dementia.
And I just recently in a conversation with my doctor, also when, because estrogen, for example, is produced in the fat cells that we have. So reducing our weight and shrinking the fat cells will also bring our hormonal balance, but will bring balance to our hormones that is so important. Like, is there like an average loss of pounds when people follow your diet, follow
Well,
the different plans?
yeah, we did the in the Girlfriend Doctor Club, we did the cleanse plan, and we had
Hmm.
one people lost anywhere from 4 to 10 pounds in those 6 days. I mean, that's inflammatory,
Really?
toxic
Wow.
waste reduction, right? That's what we want to see. And actually, this one client, she lost 11 pounds, and it was right. We did it all as a community before Thanksgiving, and she gained 1 pound back over Thanksgiving, but she's kept those 10 pounds off. And again, just healing the gut, healing the GI tract, supporting your natural first line of defense, the gut microbiome. That's your, I mean, that's the key to longevity. That's the key to healthy aging. And so we've seen that. And certainly, from Keto Green 16, and we know with these other plans, the biggest thing is, we've done it in our small Girlfriend Doctor Club and community, but in a big way, once the book is released in April, we have a promotion to do this with us in our Keto Green community on our Facebook group.
Yes, and again, all links below in the show notes, of course. Before we go to the healthy aging and reverse aging, I want to ask you a couple of questions. I heard you recently say, I think it was together with JJ Virgin, that you can totally track yourself if you ate something wrong the night before. Is that if you step on the scale the next morning and all of a sudden you are 3 pounds heavier than you were 24 hours ago, you just ate something really bad for your body and it's all
Right.
inflammation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For me, it's dairy, and that, will show up acidic urine pH, because I always tell clients, test your urine pH and, using the scale, test, don't guess on what you measure gets managed. So it is an important marker. It doesn't tell
It,
you anything about you as a person. It just gives you information to help
mhm.
you succeed in your journey of self-discovery.
Right,
And
right, right. And those 3 pounds, I wanted to ask you, but where does the weight come from? Does that mean the body is
it,
now retaining three
yes.
liters of water, or what is it? It's water retention. This is
It's
where
water
the
retention is like a leaky membrane, third spacing of fluid, like edema. And you can feel it. Your rings may be a little tighter, your belly, you
yes.
can have belly
Hmm.
bloating and gas and constipation from eating a food sensitivity. So it's the decrease in the elimination of toxic waste.
It is so fascinating. The body is a miracle.
It
Yes,
is, it
absolutely.
is. It's
Haha. Please, healthy aging. So, following a plan or the 5 different plans that you lay out in Menupause is good for healthy aging. What about reversing aging? This is a conversation I can have until the cows come home because, like, right now, my biological age is 9 years younger than my chronological age. And I'm
Yay,
wondering,
Bettina.
yes, yeah, yeah. So I'm wondering if I can now, when I do your plan, can I bring my biological age even further down? That's also something that I want to
I
then
believe
measure out
yes.
sometimes.
I
Yes,
believe yes. I've seen it in myself too. I'm
yes.
55,
Tell
right?
me
I haven't done biological age in a
what?
forever. I haven't done it in forever. So I need to do it. I
Okay.
know because what I mark, I look at my key markers. I look at my DHEAS, my
Yeah.
vitamin D, my hemoglobin A1c, and my HSCRP, those key 4 tests. And now I'm adding in uric acid based on Dr. Perlmutter's book, Drop Acid. And so it just makes sense because I have diabetes and heart disease on both sides of my family. My mom
Mm-hmm.
at age 52, so 3 years younger than I am now, underwent cardiac bypass surgery. And at 67,
Wow.
she passed away. I have all the genes from both my parents struggled with diabetes. So the key marker for me is the marker on a daily basis. How's my pH? How's my mental function? How am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know how bad I felt at 48. I was 10 years older than I am now. 48, 10 years older than I am. I
Mm-hmm. When
felt
you
like
when you had
every morning so heavy, so exhausted. I felt like I was walking through thick fog. And that was, that was this journey that I've been on and why I'm so passionate about getting this information out to people because I know what that felt like. And so I am part of a longevity group, and it's so funny because I'm in the Da Vinci 50, and it's a elite group of biohackers like
how
Dave
how
Asprey's
can
in it.
I want to get in.
Yes, I will. Send me an email. I will connect you. Joe
Yes,
Mercola is in it.
yes,
Jeffrey
please.
Gladden from the Gladden Longevity Institute is in it. And so, I mean, it's really been a privilege to hear, and it's supplementation, it is hormone optimization, it is
Mm-hmm.
biohacking. I haven't personally done stem cells but I use stem cells in my Jolva product for my, the Jolva for the vulva.
Yes.
That's essential for
Total.
anti-aging. Then I was joke, well, I'm 55 chronologically, but my vagina is that of a 25-year-old. So
You go. I love this. I love this. Please, since I have you, you mentioned for all the women that are listening
testing.
to us
Mhm.
and do good testing. There's the normal range of hormones and there's the optimal range. And I don't
Yes.
listen to normal at all anymore. Could you tell us the four that you mentioned? What is the optimal range?
So for vitamin D, 25 hydroxy, we want to see it between 50 to 80 nanograms per milliliter. So that is key. So you can be normal at 30, but if you're less than 50, you're certainly not optimal and you're at risk for all disease mortality increases. So you have to get that up now more than ever. And there's great studies looking at with the pandemic that people with higher vitamin Ds, I mean, proportionally had less symptomatology with COVID and less contractibility of COVID. So
Yes,
we've seen that
yes.
great research now. So vitamin
Yeah,
D is critically important.
yeah. I've been doing it for a year and a half now, diligently, my vitamin D. I don't know if you know that. I had breast cancer a few years ago. I don't even know if you know that.
So
But so anyway, so for me especially, it should be between 60 and 80 at least. And
yes.
I'm up
Mhm.
to 85, 86 right now with my vitamin D level, but also as a protocol for during all this COVID time now. I did that
Yes.
too. Okay, vitamin D in between 50 and 80 is optimal. Thank you.
DHEAS, and that is one of our markers of adrenal in the blood. If we're doing saliva, we look at DHEA, but in the
Hmm.
blood, we look at DHEAS, and DHEAS predominantly we're getting from our adrenal glands in menopause and beyond. And we want that number, like, we really want that number above 150, even 200 for women. So we want to keep that number nice and high and optimum. So again, the more we de-stress and empower oxytocin, that will help. We used Mighty Maca Plus, my green superfood combination that I created. It boosts your DHEAS better than anything else. I mean, we'll add B vitamins and vitamin C as well.
Hmm.
Definitely the adaptogenic combination is really powerful. So it's maca with resveratrol, turmeric, quercetin, these amazing power foods. So that is helpful too to boost up that number because often you're in your 50s and that's considered normal. I mean,
Yes.
a serum number of 50s. I remember mine was in the teens and
Oh
30s
wow.
forever because of trauma, post-traumatic stress. So we should look at that biomarker in everyone now. And then the next one is hemoglobin A1c, and that comes in a percentage. So if you're less than 6, you're considered normal, right? But 6 is the border for pre-diabetes. Where we want it is close to 5%. And we've had clients, actually, one of our on virtual clients, right? I've never seen her face to face. She went from 8.4 to 5.7. So she went from full-blown diabetes to 5.7%. So we're still optimistic we're going to get her down. But what she did for her quality of life just completely metamorphoses her life. And she just feels it. She feels tremendously better. I mean, she'd been, dealing with this for 20 years and didn't get help and support, just medications. So, okay. So she finally, like, this was something she could do because we reduced the appetite, we reduce the cravings. And that's so critically important for diabetics because you have those sugar cravings. And so we reduce that by healthy fats, quality protein, and good fiber. And that makes the difference. So we want that number, hemoglobin A1c, below 5.3. We want it close to 5.0. And mine was up at 5.7 at one point. And I typically run 4.8 to 4.9.
I'm 4.6 right now.
Congratulations. And that just reduces your risk of recurrent breast cancer exponentially. You
I'm
creating a body inhospitable to cancer. Inhospitable to cancer. And that is key, Bettina. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The other one, the fourth marker that I listed is HSCRP, highly sensitive or cardio C-reactive protein. C-reactive protein. And so what is that? That is a marker of inflammation. And I am very staunch advocate of testing this because I remember back in my medical practice, I had a woman who was in her mid 50s, probably around my age now. She looked like she was in her late 60s. And she came into me after being to doctor to doctor to doctor. She's like, I just need my pap smear, Dr. Cabeca. I am just struggling. I've been to my internist and family doc and heart doc, and I'm on these 6 medications and I just don't feel well. And, just looking at her, I'm like, oh my gosh, let me run some labs on you. Let me look at what you've had and let me run labs. And I ran exactly these labs that I'm talking to you about. And her HSCRP, which we want it down to 1.0, right?
Yeah.
Definitely less than 3.0, but around, less than 1.0. Her level was 111.
Oh,
111.
no.
And so I said, I don't know what's going on, but I've got to refer you to hematology. And, she had metastatic cancer that'd been undiagnosed. She was dead 6 months later. Like, we could have helped her at 5, right? We could have
My
helped her with
God.
the HSCR. And I have a client, and I share this in my diabetes masterclass. That information's, we'll have information for you on the diabetes masterclass. I have a client, Debbie, and she worked with my keto green plan, and her, she was able to reverse her HSCRP from 32 to less than 3 in a short amount of time. I mean, that is turning back the hands of time. That's why these numbers are so important. And they all are taken into effect with biological age and in those markers, and looking at telomere length. And there are several markers that we can look at for biological age, especially heart health and cardiovascular health.
Yes.
These are key
Please.
numbers that we want to keep optimum.
Please, ladies, buy the book. As you can see, you can lower your numbers in no time. We are talking about days, weeks, maybe depending on how high you are. It's just a few weeks. Yeah, please show us the book again.
Yeah.
And you have 5 different plans to choose from.
125 beautiful, delicious recipes. I mean, you've got my tabbouleh. I modified it, to make it with broccoli sprouts instead of the cracked wheat, the bulgur wheat, or using cauliflower rice, because I use the sprouts for the added hormonal benefit. Of course, kefta kebabs. They have, herbs and greens in it, which is beautiful. And there's my Texas Roadhouse skillet somewhere there. I don't know where it is in here. This is collagen hot chocolate. So we've got some great things in here for you guys. So everyone in your family can do it with you, and definitely join me in my community and join it as soon as the book comes out. We're going to start playing with these plans together.
Yes, and I will be there too. One very last thing, mindset. Do you have 2 more minutes? Because I think this is important. So the last time you and we texted, you were in Texas somewhere hauling horses to a rodeo. And I thought, there is a woman who lives her wild.
Oh,
And
I
this is
love
really
that. I am
important.
living my wild, Bettina. I
You
am
live
telling
your
you.
wild. Please just speak a couple of minutes. This is something that like I also want to. I'm too domesticated right now. I want to live my wild again too. And I think there is one of those key elements in us, how we age or not. This is super key.
This is super key. And having the, that futuristic mindset, like, like what's the next day? I always think, because we're in a lot of stress and trauma, right now. I mean, there can be, and now our heart goes out to the people of the Ukraine. And we have to think, okay, well, we have to get centered within ourselves. What do we know to be true for us right now? And our self-care is a priority in order to have this balance and have this strength. And it wasn't until I learned that, created this keto green way that I teach, that I was able to pull myself up from the pits of hell too, Bettina. I could never have done what I'm doing now, 8 years ago. I could never have done it. And so this is so important. So here, just that mindset, what brings joy? And also for my daughter does rodeo. So in Georgia, I was limited. And here I just came for 2 months. And before you knew it, buying a place I'm just buying a place, was
Excellent.
visiting my new house this morning as I'm getting ready to move in the middle of a book launch. So you guys, I can do all of this at one time because it's the simple steps. How do I start my day? It's that with gratitude journaling, it's with hydration, it's with alkalinization, it's with the keto green lifestyle, it's mindset and activities that are supporting my future self as well, and my future family. I just became a grandma. Oh my gosh, Bettina, can I tell you? Like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
My firstborn daughter had a firstborn daughter, and
Mhm.
I was blessed to do her delivery. So, like, I've done over 500 deliveries in my life. Oh, yes, the best delivery ever, ever. Amazing. And so but it sent me back in mindset a little bit. What was my image? I never knew my grandparents growing up. They passed away from heart disease or cancer
Mhm.
early, before I was born. And my mom had diabetes. And I remember her pushing my daughter, Amanda, up a hill, but she had oxygen. And so, like,
Oh
my
wow.
image, and of course, mom was the best cook and chef, and all these, food is medicine for sure. And it's love. And it was love in my family. And so when I think, like, all of a sudden I gained weight and I was starting, I'm like, canceling my hot yoga class, reprioritizing my priorities, and it didn't serve me. And so that was a realization, because my mindset was, okay, sick and old grandmother, right? And that's a really important comment. I want everyone listening to think, could your belief of who you are at this stage of your life be contaminated by some false or long held beliefs, or someone you love dearly but was sick? And you don't, like, we have recognized, I don't honor them by becoming sick myself, right? I do no honor to them. And when I look at my futuristic self, right, this woman who is traveling with her grandchildren around the world, energetically is riding horses, is, like, I never thought I'd be pulling a horse trailer, but I'm pulling a horse.
Mhm.
The last 2 weekends, I've been hauling horses to East Texas and sleeping in the living quarters of our horse trailer.
You
Thank
are
you.
gorgeous and a grandmother redefining what it means and live your life, ladies. You're wild, not just
I
life.
I love that. Live your wild life. Bettina, I'm quoting you on that. I love that. You guys, everyone write that down. Live your wild life. What does
Yes,
that look
yes.
like? With laughter and fun and love and connection and the best relationships of your life. And that is, I'm blessed to say, thanks to God, that's where I'm living now. Yeah.
I'm so glad you do. And I'm thanking you from the bottom of my heart for this conversation. Ladies, really, let's take this seriously. Let's take really great care of our health. That's the number one priority. Let's do the plans together and
Yes,
have
let's
all
do
the
menopause
energy that we
together.
want and we need. Exactly. Let's do it together and then live our wild together. I can't wait to see you again. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you, Dr. Anna.
Thank you, Bettina.